was intriguing at first. It definitely piqued my interest. I like to know what's going on the floor, and certainly I don't like it when my residents are harassed.
Sitting in a lounge in the S308, small lounge in that suite area, and I was actually closest to the door, and out of nowhere, a young gentleman sticks his head in, opens the door, peeks his head in, and we all turn and we look and we see that he has a blue vampire mask on, and we all felt a little uncomfortable on the situation because we didn't know what was going on. And that's when I first encountered the man with the blue mask.
A man with a blue mask on. When I had heard of the blue mask, I was asleep at the time, and I was woken up by banter outside my wall. Apparently, the people who first saw the blue mask had mistaken him for being my neighbor across the hall, Michael Morse.
When I hear blue mask, I hear the first word that comes to mind is push, force, door. These are words that come to mind.
Blue mask incident is something that I heard about from Stephen Bailey, and it was just an incident, I guess, where some guy with a blue mask came into one of the suites at about 2 o'clock in the morning on the 3rd floor, and it caused quite a ruckus, quite an uproar. When I first heard about it, I didn't know what to think. I just knew it was a guy with a blue mask, and I just knew we had to figure out who it was.
Us men, we got up. It was myself, Steve Bailey, and Rob, and a couple gentlemen from the other suite next door, Mike and Geraldo and them. And we got up and we searched from the lobby floor all the way up to the 6th floor for him.
The reasoning behind the search for the blue mask was, first off, he was a guy in a blue mask, and he just appeared out of nowhere and poked his head into one of the suites here on the 3rd floor. He seemed like a shady character. He kind of poked his head in, saw that there was a lot of people in the room, and left. And really, there's no reason for someone to be doing something like that at an ungodly time, like 3 in the morning. We had no leads as to who the blue mask really was. We searched through many a hall and could not find any clue of who he could have been. And someone had the idea that it could have been someone named Nicholas who lived on the 6th floor here at Aubuchon.
We formulated an idea of who it might have been in our minds. Nicholas Friends, yes, on the 6th floor.
I remember around 2 o'clock in the morning, a big mob showed up at my door, and I was quite embarrassed. I was in my boxers, and they forced the door open and they wrestled me to the ground.
We searched his room. We woke him up and searched his room without a search warrant, might I add. And we didn't find the blue mask, so we felt kind of ashamed.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. They were childish, but you know, I was kind of amused and I kind of liked the attention I was getting, but I didn't like being wrongfully accused.
We got a possible ID, so we held a sort of a military tribunal slash, I don't know, higher council meeting slash judgment, in which we brought forth various witnesses.
The trial started when Sarge was able to get Nick LaFrenz down here and question him on his actions on the night of the initial sighting and earlier that night when Nick Lantieri said he had spotted the blue masked man.
It was barbarianism. I think mostly it was a makeshift trial. People were just they were just after blood. My roommate was called down, and his testimony didn't really help my cause.
In the beginning, I didn't think it was him, but then the more I thought of it, the more things added up to it being him. So I was keeping a close eye on him at the time, and but like I said, physically we never held him down or anything to get him to admit to it.
The kind of trail went dead after that sort of tribunal, but then I picked up hot again when I got my new CA, my new community assistant on the third floor, Ross. He informed us that he in fact actually knew the individual, and then from there we hatched a plan as Ross volunteered his services to lure the said individual into a trap, and all we had to do was set that trap for him.
When I approached my friend, who I had suspected had done this, I found out that he did indeed have a blue mask. And I thought that was interesting. I went down and told all these kids down here on the third floor, and they got really, really excited.
Well, the capture plot, I guess, started when Steve Bailey came in. He told me about what had happened. He thought this was serious business now, so I took that seriously. We all took it seriously. We drew up a couple maps, schematics of the third floor, and we planned out a couple attack routes and how to capture the man in the blue mask.
I walked in and I was just kind of in awe, and then everybody just sort of embraced me and said, "Oh, you're part of the plan, you're part of the plan." Especially Sarge, the RA on the floor, who had, I believe, aviator shades and a bullhorn. Very intimidating. He had a very large map just spread out across the wall, and he had this entire plan, backup plans, plan A's, B's, C's, with battle strategies and sleeper cells and a whole bunch of other military terminology that I was quite unaware of.
We want to get this individual pretty much caught in the act with the mask on, so he would know completely that we knew who he was, and then we could have a sort of ceremonial demasking and an identification of who this individual was. So
it was all fun and games, and then it just kind of went out of proportion, and it got really childish, and I felt like I was, acting not my age, and I was just ashamed to be a part of the whole thing altogether.
The plan went down, and it didn't go very well at all.
Actually, I was sitting in the common space of the third floor, one of the common spaces, with Michael Morris watching some television, and the room was dark. A man came in, and he was actually, the blue mask looked more green in the light of the television. I think it looked like a green mask, and I was talking to Mike, and I sort of glanced over, and I saw the guy coming in, and I went, "Oh, that's that guy in the vampire mask." But I didn't even know, like it didn't even register in my mind. I was still having the conversation, the door closes, I yell, "Hey, the guy in the blue mask came in!" And then like nobody answered, so I just sat there and we continued to watch South Park.
But the plan took off with Ross would accompany him down with spotters in the elevator. He would come around to the third floor, south side.
the guy started following Ross to his own suite. And Ross was going to walk right by our position and compromise our position, which he in fact did. Our position was across near one of the doors in Aubuchon, on near kind of the laundry area slash the main common area. Me and I believe 3 or 4 other individuals. I had my glasses on, my hat on, got a bullhorn ready to go. You know, we're gonna blow the lid on this guy. And so the guy started walking around, sort of, I guess, to make a alternate approach to the suite. And he kind of walked right past us, and we all kind of looked at each other. And he just sort of said hello to me, and I just didn't know what to do, so I started walking away, sort of draw attention away. I didn't think that the gig was up yet.
basically the plan was kind of in shambles once he found the team's stairwell. What ended up happening was that I had just seen them. I just saw through the small window through there a young man of which whom I did not recognize, and then Ross Kavanaugh, and the young man I didn't recognize just opened the door and he just started talking to us, and I assumed that this can't be the blue mask person because he wasn't wearing a blue mask. Blue mask individuals are known to be wearing blue masks. So we just conversed. We were just said we were kind of hanging out, and at that point, Ross had turned around and opened the suite door nearest to the stairwell, and pretty much motioned that this was the individual that they were looking for. And I was just kind of in shock. I was like, oh, this is the guy we're looking for. He's right here in front of me. I'm talking to him.
When we found the kid, he wasn't wearing his mask, which threw us off. When we went out to get him, we looked around because we didn't see anyone wearing a blue mask.
And so they kind of walked out of the suite, but they didn't see anybody with a mask on. They just saw a few people chatting. And so they were very confused. And so then it was sort of strange and ambiguous kind of situation.
Steve had come out, asked me where he was. I thought, oh, maybe he ran away, but no, he was right there. Just no one knew who he was without the mask on. And so he was just standing there, completely dumbfounded, realized that I had betrayed him into a nest, if you will, of terror. We were speaking to him, particularly Sarge, through the bullhorn, after he had come over, once realizing his plan was kind of compromised. And it was very jokingly going back and forth between the two of them, just saying things. Sarge had told him that, jokingly, that he was no longer allowed on the floor, and the blue mask seemed to take it pretty lightly.
Then he revealed the actual vampire mask, which was definitely sort of a pale blue, albeit, but it was definitely blue. And so we were kind of joking about that, and he definitely it was strange because we were kind of chuckling and smiling, and he wasn't. And so then the situation was kind of like awkward, got very awkward very quickly.
Sarge had continued to heckle him a little bit. The emotional atmosphere went from seemingly very, very joking and funny to a little bit darker. It almost, somebody had turned off the lights almost.
And so it was just very awkward. Silence kind of like, stretches of silence were just growing. And then finally we decided to try to call him out into the main area to sort of have sort of a cathartic, another council thing, get all the facts out into the air. But he was very adamant about not going anywhere, except that he wanted to exit via the stairwell, and that was being blocked by an individual.
I was standing right by the doorway. I was assigned the job of making sure that the doorway was blocked. So I had my arm stretched across the door when I was standing in front of the doorway.
And so he pretty much grabbed Pat and started trying to pull him away.
It appeared that the blue mask individual had it. So he turned to me and he said, "You're in my way." And I said, "What?" And he said, "You're in my way." And Sarge, through the bullhorn, said, "Do not move away from that door." And so I was kind of split. I was like, "Oh, what do I do? Do I move away for the little scrawny kid, or do I listen to my RA?" So I listened to my RA, but only for about a second, because at that point I was grabbed and literally flung out of the way by the scrawny blue mask individual. The tensions were pretty high then. I didn't want to start anything there, but he pushed me right out of that way. And then he opens the door and he turns back around to Sarge and he says,
"I'll be coming back for you later." At what point I was very confused.
And then he left, and then the best moment of the night was when Sarge just sort of looks around and through the bullhorn he says, "I don't think he knows I'm an RA."
Then we were all looking at each other wondering what to do, and it was sort of like, well, that was kind of a bust.
Well, it's just like the old saying, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt, and I think that's kind of what happened here. We had a little bit too much fun, planning this out and playing around with our plastic swords and our big maps and all that stuff. But when it came to the end of the capture, the people are a little too serious, a little too tense. It kept blowing out of proportion.
It was just a joke. I mean, jokes could take it too far, but I don't think we took it too far. I think he just took himself very seriously. I mean, an individual who runs around at 2 o'clock in the morning with a blue mask should be able to take a pretty good joke, I imagine. So, jokes, he should have taken a joke.
If he originally did it as a joke to us, you would think he would be prepared to receive a joking retaliation, so to speak. And I can say it was interesting while it lasted, and I hope this puts some closure on the whole situation.
I feel that in the future, if anybody comes into my room with a blue mask, I'll simply ask them, "Hey man, what you doing at 2 o'clock in the morning with a blue mask on? You know, you might hurt someone's feelings."
That blue mask was terrifying.